All right, we're starting.
Okay.
Let's see. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another show, Carlos Taco Show. I'm your host, Carlos Tacos. We got Miss Patty, we got Mary, we got Frank, we got a mom. We got a full house tonight. With that being said, take it away, Miss Patty.
Happy Thursday, everyone. We have a heavy topic to talk about. But first, I want to acknowledge it's February 1st, the kickoff of Black History Month, which I believe should be acknowledged every day of the year because American history is Black history. And they're definitely a big community that has been oppressed in different forms. And
Mhm.
we are the products of the environments that these systems created. So we're going to talk about oppression. Definitely, we want to talk about ceasefire tonight, um, what it means, and thank you, Imam Abu Bakar, to take the time to come in and inform us, and Frank Sterling as well, voice of KPFA, advocate, activist. Thank you all for being here. And please, if you could educate us on what the community can do, what's happening with the ceasefire. I know this all started October 7th, I believe. We're going in on almost 4 months of this, the atrocities happening on the people of Palestine, um, and just an anti-Muslim movement, I think. And we need to embrace humanity and respect all religions, and especially just people. So please, if you could enlighten us, Frank, if you'd like to introduce, or Imam, if you'd like to take it away.
I I would just like to ask if I know that Sumaya was going to try to join us, so maybe she can keep an eye out for that, Carlos, if she does. But
Gotcha.
if Iman Abu Bakr, if you could just kind of tell us what it's like on the ground in Palestine now, because the numbers are changing daily of people that are being killed, children that are being killed, buildings that are being destroyed. Where are we at now? The last I heard, it's getting close to 27,000 people have been killed, about 12,000 children. Just kind of give us some numbers so we can kind of absorb that. Oh, you're still on mute, so unmute yourself.
First of all, thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
It's a humanitarian disaster. It is a total nightmare in terms of, what's happening. The vast majority of the population of the Gaza Strip have been displaced from their homes. 27,000 have been killed, but then if most people aren't even living in their homes, there's not enough food coming in for people to survive, which is nothing new to them because for those who are familiar with the situation, Gaza Strip is an open air prison. So therefore, any water that comes in, drinkable water is controlled, food supply is controlled. None of that is new, but now without their homes, who have had community members here who have lost their entire families over there. We've had community members who have lost, multiple people in their family. Like one brother was telling me 30 people in his family, they were just, having dinner at home and then they get bombed. Another individual who is an activist in the Bay Area, he was telling us that his family, um, there is no one or but maybe one person remaining with his last name in the Gaza Strip right now. So these are real human beings. They're just like you and I, and they are in such a state where, I heard recently they're eating leaves off of the trees to survive.
Wow.
And in their heart, they're still, they don't want to leave. They don't want to be kicked out of their homeland. They want to resist. They want to be given their rights. They want to be given some form of justice. I think to understand the situation, you said it all started in October 7th. For them, a lot of it is same old, same old. A lot of those people who are being killed right now, imagine they were born in an open air prison. And the history of how it became an open air prison, who exactly is living there, I'd be happy to share if you want me to go that way.
Please
Well,
do.
Yeah. Well, Imam, let me ask you this, because like Patty said, for a lot of people, this suddenly started October 7th. But give us a brief history of what life has been like in Palestine before October 7th. And I know 2023 up to that point was already the deadliest year for children in Palestine. It was already the deadliest year there. It's been about 75 years. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on like the Nakba, but I don't think people know about that. So can you tell people about the Nakba and then how we got to October 7th?
Very good. Because that history is very important. It puts everything into perspective. Why are people resisting so much? Why have their enemies decided that the only thing we can do these people is exterminate them and eliminate them? That they have to break their will to resist. Where did this come from? This doesn't just pop up all of a sudden. They decided, everybody's living peacefully. They decided to attack Israel. And then all of a sudden now they're getting bombed in revenge. That's a narrative that Israelis are trying to push, but the reality is far different than that. To understand the context, you can go back even before 1948. There was a lot of Jews that were living in Israel. Muslims, Jews, and Christians were living in peace. They were neighbors. World War II happened. What did the Muslims in Palestine do? They started welcoming in, people to live in their land. All of a sudden, then you have, something happening in 1948 that would change that relationship entirely. So I want you to think of yourself, it's easy to think about this as ancient history, but a lot of these people are alive today who are alive during that time. It's easy to think about this as, something, far away and distant and separate from us. So to help empathize, it's good to say, okay, well, what if, here in, the Bay Area, here in, wherever you're at, Pittsburgh, Antioch, Concord, or wherever you're watching this from, we decided to welcome in people who are from, war-torn countries. And those people came in and they started settling in and living as their neighbors, to the level that one of those people, her name is Golda Meir. She became the 4th prime minister of Israel. She was a passport-carrying Palestinian citizen. So she was granted her rights and given her rights and welcomed in as a Palestinian. Then you have 1948. There's a lot more history than that, but this is not going to be a history lesson. This is just some perspective. 1948, what was the Nakba? What happened? You have a systematic mission to prepare for the establishment of the state of Israel. And we'll talk about what that is. What systematic mission took place? They needed the land to be vacated so that they could move in there and live there. And as Brother Frank was there on the day that Rabbi Lynn was talking to us about, she was growing up at that time as a young Jewish girl. And she was asking everybody, like, what happened to the people who were living in that land? And everybody was like, oh, they just left. Well, how did they leave? How do you get 500 villages with 700,000 people in them to vacate? What they did was they first attacked this village called Deir Yassin, and they slaughtered the men and the boys. They stripped the, can I be,
Yeah. No, history matters.
the women and the girls naked, photographed them unclothed, and then slaughtered them. Then they took those pictures and they threatened different villages, and they told them, look, we have all these weapons. we're going to do this to you just like we did it to those people. If you don't want this to happen to you, the people who are just welcoming them, the people who are living as their neighbors in peace, they're like, nope, this land is ours now. Get off of it. So some of the Palestinians that ended up, when I say Palestinians, I mean non-Jewish Palestinians, Christian Palestinians, Muslim Palestinians. They ended up settling. Some of them ended up having to leave to Jordan. Some of them settled in the West Bank and so on. And the majority, 700,000 of them, went to live in what is known as the Gaza Strip. So what did they do with those 500 villages? They cornered them to the point where they're almost kicking them out of the country. They're putting them all the way in the corner of the country. And they kept them there. They bulldozed their villages. Some of them they took over. Some of them they just erased and planted trees where the village was, so that literally they would have nothing to return to. And the Palestinian families that left, they took their keys with them, that they hoped that one day we're going to return to our homes, that this was a great injustice that was dealt to us. So then they continued to resist from Gaza. Well, the only way you're going to have people stop resisting, if you did such a major injustice to them, if you don't wipe them out, they ended up building the iron wall, 7 feet thick, and a layer of barbed wire. Like, you think about it, like, I have a lot of friends who went to, for example, they spent time in San Quentin, for example. Where's the barbed wire and automatic machine guns? It's like, it's worse than a prison, right? Automatic, just machine guns on cameras, sensors, just will shoot anything that's in sight. It's just a nightmare situation. So there's kids who grew up in Gaza, and you can see the interviews yourself. Look up interviews with people in Gaza. They've never seen a mountain in their life. They've never went outside of this prison that they were born in. The people who established that area, a lot of them are alive today. The people who were born there, a lot of those people are the people getting bombed today. They were sequestered into a corner of their own country simply because they did not fit the religious or genetic necessity to stay in their home. And on the other hand, and I think any proud American should be like, what are my values as an American, right? I value liberty, and I value justice, and I value equality. And we've messed up big time, and we still continue to mess up with those in our society. However, we try to hold ourselves to that standard, So we encourage each other, and we have the free speech to do that. So I encourage you to think about a situation where, somebody with a particular DNA, and they're born and raised in, South Africa, or they're born and raised in, Wisconsin. They're allowed to go to Israel, to go to those on top of those very same villages, and get a free home and get a free income, and be given rights and weapons. And somebody who literally their family legally owns that land and has the keys to their home, they have no right to leave that open air prison and go back. That's the situation that's going on. So those people weren't, all of a sudden they said, let's be terrorists and let's attack our neighbors. They're saying, we will never stop resisting. We will never stop seeking justice and trying to get our homes back by any means necessary. That's what's going on.
And they call that day in 1948 the Nakba, but what do the Israelis call it?
What do they call it?
Isn't that the day of the creation of Israel? The state?
The creation of Israel, I have the dates, in fact, here. Yes, very shortly afterwards, then Israel was the country of Israel was founded. That's their, So on May 14th, that was the creation of Israel. The Deir Yassin massacre was on April 9th. And this is both 1948. After they managed to, now all of a sudden the UN is created, and the UN says, okay, well, we recognize Israel as a state. Israel is not they say it's the beacon of democracy in the Middle East. You don't get rights if you don't belong to one particular genetic group. So
that's not a democracy.
No,
Well,
not by any stretch of the imagination.
Let me ask you this, Imam, if you could touch on the houses. I was going to ask this of Sumaya, if she came. The Times of Israel, Truth Out, Al Jazeera, a number of other publications reported that 70% of the houses in Gaza have been destroyed. Can you talk about what the housing situation is right now for people that have managed to stay alive, and talk about the seasons changing? As I understand it, winter is coming, and there have been reports of people and children actually freezing to death already. Give us an update on the. You went dark, huh? Yeah.
Yeah,
Give us.
sorry, I'm still here, but the cleaning service, they turned off light. Yeah, there they go.
All right. Give us an update on the housing situation and what's really happening with the weather right now.
Well, if you remember, after we concluded our last event, which I encourage everybody who's watching to attend our events, and we're going to be advertising for one soon, a teach-in that's happening in a couple of days. After we had our event, one brother from the audience stood up. He's a member of our community. And he said, man, I was feeling cold sitting here in this like auditorium in the middle school. He said, but I started thinking about my family members who are over there, are in the middle of the winter, and they literally have nothing to cover themselves up at the sky. It is that situation. You have, if most of the homes are destroyed, the majority of the people are being displaced. Imagine, like, it's just to a state where like being homeless in America, or unhoused, it comes with a lot of challenges, and there's certain rights and things that are there for you and so on. When you don't have shelter with your entire family in a place that already everybody is struggling, with zero resources, that is the situation that's going on. It is just like you can't, like, I don't know how you can think of a worse scenario in the winter.
Comment. When we think of housing and houses and these homes being destroyed, I cannot get the smirk off of those Israeli disgusting the women, and joking about it and standing and stomping in these children's rooms. Like, I cannot get the evil that they're showing the world and the destruction of the homes. I would be so embarrassed to be a part of the Israeli military and what the destruction of housing.
Let me interrupt and talk about real quick the food situation, Imam, because right now, even before October 7th and all this started, food was a struggle there. Food has been attacked. The food source has been attacked. Water has been attacked. The Israeli government has withheld truckloads and truckloads and truckloads, as far as you could see, backed up at these border crossings that they're not even allowing through. And even when permission for one, when we need hundreds, is given to go through, some settlers are even blocking and forbidding the food to get in. So talk about the food situation. You mentioned people are eating grass, leaves, they're drinking polluted water. And some people are saying that there's going to be a famine and an illness death that is going to surpass the death of the bombing. So what's the food situation like right now? And talk about that on top of the UNRWA funds being cut on some allegations. No evidence has been proven. But talk about the food situation. Who is UNRWA, and what's it going to mean that 12 large countries have cut off funding?
Yes. So first of all, Ms. Patty, please remember the question that you asked. That's a very important one. As for this just highlights the need for a ceasefire and for a humanitarian aid to come in and to be opened up. It is unacceptable for the world to be watching while the things that you have described are taking place. That's exactly what it is. I had friends who couldn't stand it. Like, we have I deal with a lot of different nonprofits, and one of them deals with a different impoverished country in Africa. The board members of that nonprofit, some of them, they just went to Egypt, and they made deals for getting like the best cost water, just so they can send tons of clean drinking water to Gaza. Well, then what are those trucks doing? They're being rejected, and they're waiting at the border. Literally everybody who's trying to do everything in their power, they're finding that the international community is just unable, because of Israel, the United States primarily, our role and our country's role in this, are unable to help the people who are going through that. Yes, the food situation is as you have described it, as I've described it. I mean, people aren't going to go and eat leaves off of trees if there was anything else that was viable to eat. A lot of the food production, is stunted. So at least they process the food there in the mills. The mills were also, they were functioning for a while. Then one by one, they're getting bombed. Just to make at least bread for the people, even the clean drinking water that people need in order to make food and in order to drink, is being withheld. So if you're not even going to let in enough, like whatever supplies, whatever people had in their warehouses, that they were slowly distributing and so on, is just such an emergency situation that there is nothing, there is not enough in there for the people to survive. And like you said, if nothing is done, then it will be such that we will see people in the coming weeks begin to die of famine and of diseases and starvation, that would put, even more than the 27,000. So that's why there has to be a ceasefire.
Can you talk about the ruling and the case brought by South Africa on the charges of genocide on Israel in the International Court of Justice and the recent ruling they made? It has a lot of hopes for folks, and at the same time, a lot of people were frustrated that they didn't actually say the words for a ceasefire now. But they did agree to all South Africa's demands and agreed that what is happening is plausible genocide. Talk about what the international court has, South Africa's case, and then the International Court of Justice's ruling. And for folks out there that might have noisy backgrounds, just can you mute yourself while he talks? Thanks. Sorry. Go ahead.
So I'll say, I guess, two different things. One of them is that South Africa did what every country should have, which is in the face of international pressure and the whole world being complicit in genocide, stepping up and saying, hey, we don't care who's committing this. We're going to step up and say, we don't care what consequences that you're going to bring about on us. And I'll say that the bravery that it takes to do that is, admirable. And it is fitting that the country that had to escape from apartheid would be the one to stand against. They have stood in the past and called what is happening in Palestine, for the record, they've called it apartheid. However, to stand up and call it genocide and to take them to court, this was something that needed to be done. And on the other hand as well, when you talk about international pressure, here in the city of Brentwood, when we're bringing this up, in our city council meeting, they're looking at each other, and then they're saying we have to take into account the financial whatever consequences of such a stand, in more or less words. In Brentwood being worried, the mayor here is he's a Zionist. He's been to Israel several times. and so on. So even politically, just to talk about just my own city, in Brentwood, when there was some anti-Semitic statements, which we obviously condemn, were said on the city council meeting online right before October 7th. Immediately they had a Brentwood City alongside this are sponsoring an event or doing an event where they're going to be talking about anti-Semitism and whatnot. After the genocide started happening, they did nothing. We came to them, we said, hey, look, we need to make some kind of statement. We have to be on the right side of history. And they said, okay, well, we have to bring it up in our next meeting. And then we'll have to make another talk about bringing this up on your next meeting and talk about voting, what we're going to vote on, what we're going to put to vote. It's like for just some anti-Semitic comments, you immediately were able to rush to action. But when it's something considering the Palestinian people, you're talking about financial consequences and you're delaying it and giving us some. So that shows you in my own city, there's a reason why I'm bringing this to answer your question, to lead to my next point. In my own city, the pressure from the Zionist lobby and the Zionist political influence is such that politicians are afraid to speak. You may have had the same experience. To speak on this maybe after I'm done. What happened when you brought this up in Antioch. I don't know how much you want to share or not share. Similar kind of concerns were being had by the people in the Antioch City Council. And we hope that God gives them the strength of heart and determination to do what is best. And again, everybody who's listening, we need your presence when we go there and we say, hey, look, we need to do our part because our city isn't going to stay quiet while this takes place. On the other hand, what is UNRWA, and the UN, and what's going to happen with this decision that was made, that was spurred by South Africa and so on. The way that international law was designed, and I'm biased, and the way the UN was founded in such a way that to actually, take to action the condemnations from the UN or whatever international, court rulings that take place, to actually translate into effective and long-lasting action and justice, they're designed in such a way that that is able to bully the small countries, but then is designed literally with the veto power to let the larger countries, specifically America and the United States and Israel, do whatever they want and get away with it and veto any consequences. And this is just the way that it is. Israel was founded by the approval of the United Nations. And yes, of course, the main organization that is allowed in there to give aid is the UN, right? WRA, which is giving, taking care of the needs of the people of Gaza as best that they're allowed to take care of. Many of them gave their lives. So many of them lost their lives. So many sincere people working for that. But who's pulling the strings of that is the same people who founded the state of Israel. Not to take away anything from the people who work there, and I have a friend who is one of their employees as well, and so on. But understand, the reason why they're chosen, and like there's so many organizations that are willing to do work there, is because they're the ones who are trusted to go in there and just do their job and nothing more and nothing less. But the whole world wants to help, and their help is being used kind of as an excuse to not allow other organizations to do more work on the ground. As far as the court ruling, hopefully we are able to see some kind of effect from that. That's what we hope for. We strive. We'll take whatever legal means. We will fight in every single possible way, right? Just like South Africa did. So that's why I began with praising their efforts, talking about the international pressure that kind of bullies people not to speak out against the Zionist agenda. And then finally, the last thing that I mentioned was, is that going to lead to a permanent solution? I think we need a lot more than that. We need to all speak up. We need to do everything that we can. And with more and more and more pressure, we do live in, closer to a real democracy, far closer than Israel. And if Oh yes. And if we are able to put pressure on our political leaders, then hopefully, we might see, a wave. Right now, we are seeing that wave take place in America. So many cities are passing by. Just look for ceasefire resolution on Google News. You're going to find so many cities are passing different ones. So many cities here in the Bay Area and other cities across the United States are following suit. So everything that we can do, that's all we can do. But is the South Africa case going to solve the issue? No, but it's a significant step, and we love to see things like that happen.
Well, let me ask you about the importance of a resolution from a little city like Antioch. A lot of people out there might say, hey, this is just virtue signaling. You're just, you're saying something. What does it actually mean for you personally, and in the bigger picture of things that different municipalities throughout the country are passing ceasefire resolutions?
I think in the comments, Nicole Gardner said it perfectly. To read her comment again, she said, I was told initially that it would divide the city. I say, let's protest that this council does something to support Palestine, and we let everyone know that Antioch is against this genocide, right? If the, whatever genocide you want to name in the past, right? Was taking place today, I would hope that we would get up and would say something, right? We cannot remain silent. We have to use our voice, and our voice does mean something to the world. Right now, everybody's seeing the world as, oh, America is complicit, and is, the American people are just letting this happen. And we cannot take that lying down. Like me, as a Muslim, tax-paying American citizen, how on earth am I going to forget about the world judging me? How am I going to face God on the day of judgment, right? I'm here because I'm a religious leader. I'm the leader of the Muslim community here. We have like a couple, 1,000 Muslims just right here in the small area. How are we going to face God on the day of judgment? If we believe in God, if we believe in any type of morality that we are held to, how can we, hold our heads high, while we just sat down while this is taking place? We cannot take it lying down. We have to do absolutely everything that we can. Speaking, we get the opportunity to help and to contribute. They're not letting us, they're making us doubt whether our dollar is even going to reach over there. We don't want people to be sleeping on the street. Everybody, hey, if they let us tomorrow, I guarantee you, if they just let the state of California provide unlimited aid, then the people would have everything that they needed over there. We have that. I believe in our people, right? We have that generosity, we have that spirit, but we're not being allowed to. But we are allowed to speak, and we are allowed to pass these resolutions. So I think every city in America should be striving to pass a resolution in their own area.
Well, let's talk about the event we're putting together, because a lot of people don't really understand the depth, the history of what's gone on all these years, 75 years, the Nakba, the the Great March of Return. We didn't even talk about that. All kinds of stuff that that we didn't get to talk about tonight. Talk about the event that we're going to have. This is going to be February 4th, this coming Sunday in Brentwood, and talk about the interfaith coalition that has formed, and what people can expect when they come to Brentwood on Sunday.
All right. Let me pull up the exact statements that we that they said. So the plan is on Sunday, by the way. So if it's time to talk about the event, it will be at Adams Middle School, and the flyer will be sent. Can you please first share how the flyer is going to be shared? Oh, there it is. Yes, excellent. So you have any place online that people can go get it once they
we will post it on the Carlos Tacos page, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I have posted it on my Facebook, and I'm sure you'll be able to get it on the Instagram for Brentwood for Palestine. That's Brentwood, the number 4 Palestine on Instagram.
Excellent. So that will be again in 3 days. So on Sunday at 3:30 p.m. We're having, like, I'm one of the speakers, but I was just blown away by Rabbi Lynn, who she literally is describing these situations. Like, She's a person who has lived it. She is that girl who was a teenager after 1948, in the 60s. She's going around, she's asking, hey, where did we get this land from? Where did the people go? And she's not getting answers. So she went to Palestine, to Nablus, I believe, and she ended up at the door. She shared with us the story of how she learned, and she had the responsibility that was given to her. She became one of the 7 female rabbis in the entire world, in the early 60s or 70s. And she was describing when she took a group of people from America, a lot of Jewish people, and she took them to Palestine, and she had them with the Palestinian Christians and Muslims. So Muslim, Christian, and Palestinian Jews were all gathered together, having a peaceful, beautiful gathering. And she said they were passing this bread, according to some cultural thing that they were doing. And then an American, well, of course it's Israeli, but it's an Apache helicopter, which is our weaponry, our technology, pulls up, and she's like, I see the pilot. He's that close. And they just drop a bomb on them. And I'm like, just having somebody like that who just, comes from the background that she comes from, and was involved for as long as she has, her life, seeing somebody like that speak, I think honestly, is just a very rare thing. We're going to also share a 6-minute documentary about the Nakba, about Palestine as a whole. And then after that, we'll be talking about some of the historical perspectives portrayed in the documentary, discussing how the systematic oppression over the last 75 years has led to the current crisis, and why should Americans care and speak up against the ongoing genocide from moral and economic perspectives. That's what's going to happen in Brentwood at Adams Middle School this Sunday at 3:30 p.m.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, Carlos, for reminding me to welcome Francisco to the show. Thanks for joining us, Francisco. And I think it's a good time to open it up if anybody wants to pop up some questions or, anything for Imam Abu Bakr, just pop up. Francisco, Mary, go ahead, Mary.
I have a quick question. So this has obviously been going on for a very long time. Is there a leader that started this genocide, like when Hitler or Stalin, or is there a dictator that's doing this? Is it like literally a community that decided that this is what they're going to do?
It's very easy for me to say a community, but no, that's not the case. There are just, and some people might get mad at me for saying this, okay? But there are, Israeli Jews who were born in Israel, and they just viewed themselves as hey, I'm born here and I'm raised here. And they're under an illusion that, hey, and they're being told that, this is our land, and, we have democracy, and they're being told these things, and they genuinely believe it. A lot of them are waking up. A lot of them don't like what's going on. There was recently a stream where one of the IDF soldiers who was going through a lot of difficulty after being involved in what he was involved in, actually became a Muslim on that stream. And so, yes, there's I wouldn't say that even everybody in Israel is aware of even what's going on. A lot of them are either severely brainwashed or unaware, or a lot of them are very much against what's going on. The international Jewish community. Which speaker am I telling you to come in and listen to?
Rabbi.
The rabbi. And she got the difficult question. She was like, why aren't more rabbis speaking up? And the long story short was they have to hang on to their jobs, and they're in a situation where they're pressured to, uphold a certain narrative. But what's happening in Israel, the government that's in place is, yes, it is a extreme, right-wing, government that is enacting policies that many people of Israel are unhappy with. However, what they are enacting is the Zionist goal. They're not straying or creating something new. This is the goal of Zionism. which is not just to establish a state, and look up the maps of, greater Israel and what Zionism seeks to achieve. It is to establish a land for the Jewish people, from, I believe, from the Nile to the Euphrates, and that involves taking a lot more land and displacing a lot more people. Their goal is not to have a democracy and not to give equal rights. The IDF soldier who is became a Muslim, he was like, yeah, we were taught as kids that the Arabs will be our slaves. So if this is your policy, the government in Israel is only enacting and furthering a long systematic enactment of this Zionist dream. We have no problem for the Jews to have a homeland. And in fact, the Palestinian people welcomed the Jews to live in Palestine, and to have rights and so on. But yeah, you cannot just make your homeland on top of other people's homes.
No.
But they fully believe that they have the right to do so, and they're going to do everything in their power to establish that. And the world needs to stand up and tell them, hey, that's not going to happen, and we're not going to let that happen.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Francisco.
Don't forget to
unmute.
There you go.
Thank you. Imam, thank you very much. And Mary, that was a really good question. I just want to add to that, because too many people forget history. Like he's telling us, it started in 1948. But who supported this? United States, Britain, and France. And they helped fund these fighters to go in there and take the land. And what are we doing now? Our taxes are being used, billions of dollars every year for these weapons. Israeli doesn't buy them from us. We give it to them. So if the United States government wanted this to stop, they have the authority and the political power to stop it. And they're not. And that's what really pisses me off, that they're not being humane, because it's a genocide. And as Aman has been telling us the history, it's been ongoing since 48. And 48 and 49, they cleared Palestine, and the Israelis just took it over. And even in the last, 20, 30 years, the settlers have been taking land with the support of Israeli armed forces and with the support of the United States, Britain, and France. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think that's one of the arguments we have, is that we're giving I think it's $3 billion a year. That was before October 7th. California, being one of the largest states per capita, is one of the largest contributors to that fund. And look and think what we could be doing here at home with those dollars, as we still struggle here in town to help fund our unhoused services. Israel, and they also have universal health care over there. They also have a freer higher education system over there. So while we're struggling with millions of young adults coming out of college with this massive debt, they don't have that over there. While we have friends that can lose their entire life savings because of a health issue, they don't have that over there. And that's because we're donating so much money to them. And I don't think it's not an oil thing. This is a strategic. A lot of people feel this is a strategic. I could let Imam answer that more. Mary put in the comments, is it because of oil there? It's really, as far as I understand it, Imam, you can correct me, it's a strategic location for United States and other European or Western countries to flex their power in the region. But they've grown beyond even being controllable, or even they do what they want. Let me just quiet there and let Imam talk about that. It's not oil. What is it?
Yeah. So, I know she's asking that because we know that the Iraq War, in which 2.9 trillion was spent over 20 years.
Mm.
And I think it was Brown University that this research came from. And about 300,000 innocent people killed. We're talking about 27,000 in Palestine, 300,000 in Iraq. California, I think, is one of the top 10 world economies. If it was its own country, it would a few years ago it would be about number 8. Iraq was number 8, and then it was reduced to nothing.
Yeah, I just can't put my head around why we're supporting this.
Yeah, so
I mean,
Iraq was.
if it's not greed, they're just literally out of hungry for power.
Yeah, well, yeah. So for Iraq, we realized we were lied to. It was not about weapons of mass destruction. I mean, many of us probably here could have told you that back when there was like, oh, let's go kill the Arabs, let's go kill the Muslims, let's go kill those brown people, just because 9/11. Hey, so even though they have nothing to do with it, let's go and kill the people in Iraq. And I actually have a friend who is a Muslim who joined the military. He was anti-military. He joined the military because of 9/11 and was sent to Iraq several times in Fallujah, almost got killed, and now he's our Muslim brother here in Brentwood. Yes, people realized it's not about weapons of mass destruction. It was about oil. Well, why am I bringing Iraq up? Because actually, there was something deeper. There was another win-win that was there. Iraq was too powerful in the region. So speaking to what Franklin was saying, yes, in the region, we want to be able to maintain the global power as it is, United States, France, Britain, etc. We need to have as a country, a firm grasp over what is happening inside the Middle East, and the best ally positioned, against everybody there that we can empower is Israel. So it became a kind of a win-win situation and like a poison pill, which now, unfortunately, the Zionist lobby grew its influence, and now we're able to have the influence that they have. So the oil, even in Iraq, was one of the reasons, yes, why it was a win-win and why so many politicians who are so heavily invested in making so much money off of oil and being hired by oil companies and sponsored by oil companies, that they were willing to go and do that war. But one of the main reasons for that war to happen was to destabilize one of the biggest threat in the region to Israel at the time. So that's one thing. The Zionist lobby that we have is such that the hold that they have. We vote Democrat or Republican. You're voting for a Zionist candidate. So that's how deeply entrenched it was. So no, oil is not the case here at all, not in Palestine, not in the slightest, but even the wars that seemingly were for oil were actually, arguably for the benefit of Israel.
And I know we're getting close. Do we usually keep this an hour, Carlos? You try to end at 9? Or we go a little after?
We can go over.
Okay, so I was just checking because I know that you all wanted to do something at the end. I did have that short clip of the video. I know we're celebrating African Black History Month, and I have that clip of the People's Mayor of Oakland, Kat Brooks, and she was speaking at the Indigenous Solidarity Rally in Palestine. And I clipped it down. She went on for about 8 to 10 minutes. But I did make a 2-minute video out of that. You want me to try to play that, Carlos?
Yeah, please.
So I do present and then what? Video?
Yeah.
Video file. All right. And then it's going to ask me to open it. Let me open it. I had it open a second ago. 1 second. 1 second. Okay, I opened it. Where did it go? Let me see. Let me go big again here. Hold on. Okay. Present video file. Oh, cat. All right. Open. Okay. All right. I don't see it anywhere yet, but I did open it. It's here somewhere.
My turn. Let me give it a shot.
Okay.
Because I downloaded it.
All right.
So let's try this out. I'm gonna do a share screen, and then I'm going to same screen share audio. Great. For just purposes, we transfer there. I think that's the one. And here we go. Do you all see my screen?
Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Can you hear the sound?
We don't see the video though. We just see your home screen. We transfer.
Okay, let me try something else since I have it pulled up now.
We do see your screen though, but it was your home screen.
Okay, so I'm going to.
And while she's looking for that, I'll tell you, this was Kat Brooks speaking at the Indigenous Solidarity Rally in Oakland. Kat Brooks is known as the People's Mayor of Oakland. And this entire video we could share, but it's on First Voice Media on Facebook. And just scroll down the videos. How you feeling, Patty? You feel like you got it?
Does it showing right now?
No,
not yet. No,
it's not coming up yet.
Did
you share screen again?
Yeah, I did a share screen. So present, share. Oh, you all already tried the video file, huh? And that didn't work. Well, let's try it. Let me see.
I have the video open behind my screen. Want me to try to share screen? I didn't see that there. Let me try again. You ready? Here we go. Here we go. Go for it.
Okay.
Because we all watching. We all watching the roadmap. Can you imagine the ripple effect of unleashing yourself from 75 years of colonization, violence, and being confined in an open-air prison, and connecting that to the struggles in Haiti, in Niger, and so many countries across the globe? From the perspective of my people, the struggle for black liberation is inextricably tied.
That's right.
Inextricably tied to the struggle for Palestinian liberation. The Black Panther Party taught us the importance of international struggle and global solidarity amongst all oppressed peoples. They taught us to connect the dots between global imperialism, race-based capitalism, and worldwide colonization. They taught us that the only way to freedom for us all comes by linking our struggles, our strategies, and our successes. The Anti-Police Terror Project has unapologetically supported the fight for Palestinian liberation since our inception 14 years ago. A lot of people know the story of the Palestinian freedom fighters teaching the young, brave organizers in Ferguson who were at literal war with the state in 2014 about how to deal with being tear gas, tanks, and sheer brutality by the state in response to them simply asserting their right to breath. Less people know that they did the same for us in 2009 when we too had tanks, tear gas, and snipers as we fought for justice for Oscar Grant. At the same time we were fighting for justice for Oscar Grant, Arab Spring erupted. And across the region, George, you remember this, across the region, they held up signs that said, "I am Oscar Grant." Well, today I say, we are all Palestine.
That's right.
All right. Yeah, that was just a short clip. And I'll just let you all know you could find the entire video on First Voice Media on Facebook. You'll have to scroll down a little bit to the Indigenous Solidarity Rally. It was 3 hours, so that's part one. But yeah, and entering Black History Month, maybe I'll just get your thoughts on that, Imam. And, you know, how do you see our struggles linked? That was, as I said, the Indigenous Solidarity Rally in for Palestine, and as a California Indian, I could tell you that my dad's people were also sent to a concentration camp. They called them reservations. They weren't allowed to leave or come and go as they pleased. They were cut off from their game and their normal hunting grounds and relied on government food, flour, lard, and beans if they had it. So, anyways, talk about the international struggle, the solidarity with indigenous people that's been long established, the solidarity with Black liberation.
Amazing. So that's like a couple of things in one. Let me try to tie it together by, I cannot escape from talking about it from a religious perspective because, and as far as I see it, it's, I don't say I believe in God. I said, I know God is real, and, and the devil is real.
Mhm.
And there are people
Yep.
who have no fear of God.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone does not fear that there is God who is, they cannot escape. There is no way that they can commit injustice thinking that they are the greatest, while, and there's no one who is able to take them into account. When people who are evil have that belief,
Mm-hmm.
or believe that their faith justifies them to treat others like animals, like human animals, then, and even like you don't treat animals that way, right? In Islamic tradition, a woman who was, she basically was, a woman who works at night. She gave water to a dog, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that that act was enough to erase all of her sins and to enter her into paradise. That's how much value the creation of God has in the sight of God. So when you have it's no less than a international struggle of good versus evil. People who think that they can do whatever they want to other human beings. We have to have our hands together. People who really like as for me as a person, of faith again, then we have to be able to put our hands together and say that they cannot have their way. I have a lot of friends who are in Standing Rock. Obviously, a lot of the Muslim community was there in support. A lot of the same people who were going to the protests with us for Palestine, were there protesting. And yes, as you mentioned at our last meeting, this is a country that was built on genocide, and there's no running away from that. And the only thing we can do right now is, do whatever we can, to make whatever reparation, and there's no way that there's a proper compensation for what occurred, and that ties into the and to make sure that we keep ourselves away from perpetrating anything like that or allowing something like that to be perpetrated on other people in the world. So yes, this is like, if we struggled all of this to make America what it is, then we have failed to ever make America great if we fail to stand for the people who the same thing is happening to them in their land. This country was built on, the backs of slaves, and many of those slaves were Muslim. So when you talk about Black history, you're talking about American history, you're talking about Muslim history. In the Caribbean, the slaves that were brought were primarily Muslim. To my understanding, they made where they were harvesting sugarcane.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe this was even before the establishment of America, possibly in the 1600s. They were able to resist so well, and they were able to arm themselves and to fight back in the Caribbean, that they had to massacre them, in order to bring order and have their slavery system, be saved and established. And if you look until today, the oppression that is involved, even in the sugar industry, even the chocolate industry, that oppression, is still remaining today. So as far as Black History Month is concerned, it is a very important time in our community here in Brentwood. I didn't send you this flyer, but my good friend Imam Mikhail Muslim Isa, who is a African American, revert to Islam. He was born a Christian or Catholic, I'm not sure, and then he became a Muslim, and now he's a imam and a chaplain at the prison. He is giving a speech about Malcolm X, preserving the legacy, rehabilitating and transforming the mind with Islam. And if it's okay, everybody's welcome to come to that event. It's going to be right here, like right outside of this wall is our mosque. Here at 7701 Lone Tree Way, Brentwood Boulevard, the Brentwood Muslim Community Center. By the way, it's the Brentwood Muslim Community, but it serves Antioch and Pittsburgh, a lot of our communities from the surrounding area. And we have, a African American gentleman who is, I believe, close to his 70s, who has lived through, what he has lived through, speaking from his experience and connecting us with that. So we are very, very much in tune with that and tied into that. Both my parents are from Africa. My teacher is from East Africa. I've been to East Africa. I've witnessed, things with my own eyes that, just would, blow most people's minds. A lot to say on that topic, but yes, for sure, those struggles are inextricably tied because they are struggles of people who have in their heart to do what is right, and many of them to do what is right by God, to do what is right, even as a human being, even if somebody doesn't believe in God, but they still believe in certain morals. By any moral system, all of those struggles are holy, and all of those struggles are important, and all of those struggles are struggling for justice and for the value and dignity of humanity. If those things are important to you, whatever race you are, whatever color your skin is, then all of those are your struggles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And I was thinking of a quote. I can pull it up later to see the author. I don't know the gentleman. Could be someone off the wall for all I know. But it was about integrity, and the quote was, "Integrity is doing the right thing, regardless of the immediate consequences." And I'm throwing that out to our city council folks who know in their heart and what they're seeing is a genocide. It's wrong. There's thousands and thousands of people being killed, mainly women and children. And we can see this every day. And I'm asking the people in our little town over there in Brentwood too, to have the integrity to not crawl away from it because you're worried about the repercussions, even if you know it's right. Because if you know it's right, you have to do the right thing. And we're calling on you to pass a ceasefire resolution in Antioch because we want to see where you stand. And we want our city to stand on the right side of justice here. 47 cities in the United States and also places like counties and other municipalities have passed resolutions or proclamations calling for a ceasefire. The Pope said we need a ceasefire. The International Court of Justice is saying there's probable acts of genocide happening. And the stuff that the International Court of Justice wanted, like immediate aid to get into into Palestine, and these other things can't happen with bombs dropping and a war going on. So there needs to be a ceasefire to meet the requirements of the International Court of Justice for that aid to get in. We didn't even talk about what's happening in the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea, where the Yemeni people, the Houthis, they have another name. Maybe you could straighten me out on it, but where they're blocking ships that are supplying Israel, and now they're blocking ships related to the United States and Britain going through the Red Sea. They haven't killed anybody. They landed a helicopter, took over a ship, said it couldn't deliver goods. They didn't kill people. What are we doing to them? We've bombed Yemen over 7 times now recently in the past 2 weeks. They're trying to prevent the genocide. And what are we doing to them? Bombing them. So we need to really, I feel, this is speaking for myself, to wake up out here when we're watching what we're seeing. I know, Patty, you're on Instagram. Other folks are watching people on the ground in Gaza. This is not even a war, because Palestine, just Gaza, they don't have a military. They don't have tanks. They don't have jets. They don't have all that. Israel's got the most sophisticated weapons supplied by the United States. And we didn't even talk about their nuclear capabilities, because they will still deny that they're nuclear. So before this develops into a wider regional war, which it already has, because Iran, what they say is Iran-backed militias within Iraq killed 3 American soldiers the other day. By the way, all 3 African-American people of color out there doing this dirty work. In a secret base in Iraq, they got hit by a drone, and they're saying that they were Iran-backed militias. But they have stated that they're doing their own thing. What is going on out here? This is going to spread into a bigger and broader regional war. There's some politicians calling for direct strikes on Iran right now. What is going to happen if we get into a war like that? So this is terrifying for the possibilities. It's terrifying and deadly on the ground right now for folks in Palestine who are dying by the hundreds every day. Since the United Nations said there is probable cause of genocide, they've killed, I think, 12 or 1,700 people, a couple hundred each day since the decision. And by the way, the decision to cut off aid to the United Nations, to the UNRWA, I don't know the exact breakdown of the name, was the day after the court in South Africa said there's probable clauses of genocide happening. The next day, they cut off the food, the funding for the food. So we need to wake up out here. I hope I went on my rant. Thank you for letting me do that before I go too far. We want Antioch to stand on this right side of history. And we got an email campaign going on. And I hope I'm doing this right. But if not, we'll call our folks after. But I know on the Brentwood for Palestine Instagram, that's the words Brentwood, the number for Palestine. I'm sure all the information will be posted there. I posted it on Facebook. Mary, I don't know if it got through on the Rants and Raves, but I posted it on Antioch Rants and Raves, if that's still there. So please, if you are somebody that believes, thank you. If you are somebody that believes we need a ceasefire, let's pressure our city officials to bring it to the agenda and to take a vote on it. And you could do that by hitting that email link. And we've made it really easy. It's just put your name in the letter, and it already has all the city council email addresses. And then you hit send, and it automatically goes to all of them.
I did mine today. Thank you for sending that. I shared it on my Facebook, and we all can do that, and we can share it and get that going.
And sorry, real quick, breaking news today that Rising Juntos, our chapter here, the one we know and love with Rhea and all the other folks, they have endorsed the ceasefire resolution as a group today. And hopefully they'll be making a social media post about it. They are going to be at the Antioch City Council on the 13th fighting for what they do most, which is housing rights. So they're going to be asking the city to have a heart and pass just cause for eviction. And they have pledged to join us, and we're collaborating to make our messaging about housing. 70% of housing gone in Palestine. And we're out here fighting for rights for housing. We need to connect those dots there. So if you are able to sign that letter, please do. Then head out to the Antioch City Council on February 13th when we will all be out there asking the city to have a heart to pass just cause for eviction and to pass that ceasefire resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Well
I'm
said.
also gonna
Go ahead.
I'm also going to post a list on our page later today of all companies that we should boycott that are supporting the genocide of the people in Palestine. So you know how you can help locally besides going to these events and having your voice heard.
And when you say what page, let them know what social
the
media.
Carlos Taco Show page.
Okay, all right.
And Mary, as you go to do that, you could look up the No Thanks app, and
Okay.
the No Thanks app will tell you if you could look up what you're about to purchase or scan the QR code, I believe, and it'll tell you if it has direct ties to.
It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
Okay. Well, I think it's very important. I've seen people standing in front of stores and things that publicly speak, don't buy this, you're supporting Israel, and I think that since we are calling for a ceasefire, that on an individual level, that's something that we can all do.
And I just want to say real quick, because in South Africa, the ones that have brought the case of genocide to the International Criminal Court, they had apartheid. They had the separation of two different classes of people based on their race. In Israel and Palestine, they have Jewish-only roads where Palestinians can't even drive on the roads. And recently, the port of Oakland was again shut down to block the Israeli Zim ships. And labor and the International Longshoremen, Local 10, have always stood for the rights of the Palestinian people. And one of the big ways that the South African apartheid was crushed was when labor and dock workers refused to touch cargo from South Africa. And I'm glad to be, out here in the Bay Area where the IWLU Local 10 has upheld that tradition. And so if you're a labor person, there's a huge labor rally for Palestine. There was a work stoppage of the port. And again, I was there to document that. If you could find the videos to the port shutdown on First Voice Media on Facebook.
Hey,
I'm
before
taking
we,
notes because I post everything.
y'all, I'm just thinking about, bombings, destructions of homes. Let's never forget that here in America, supremacists bombed Black neighborhoods. There was the Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was traumatic, and they destroyed their income, their livelihood, their homes. And so these forms of oppression are still continuing. And until Palestine is free, no one is free. I believe it.
Right.
Let's organize. Let's do this. So we have the 13th coming up. Action or what? Big action?
Yes,
we
I
have
believe so. And
yeah.
I was trying to find out, do we actually have a meeting on that day? I see that there is no agenda posted yet. I hope that means good for us because we're looking to get a ceasefire on the agenda.
Okay.
So the 13th would be, I think that's 2 weeks from today, a little bit longer than 2 weeks. So it's not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll be out there. And we have the event on Sunday the 4th, 3:30 at Adams Middle School in Brentwood. And actually, it's a cool drive if you take the back way. It's right off Balfour Road, more into the hills. So if you head out Deer Valley Road and then make a left on Balfour, it's one of the main streets, on that end. So you don't have to go all the way around the bypass. Carlos, did you want to say something?
Is that the flyer? You want me to show the flyer again?
Oh yeah, sure. Show the flyer. That's the flyer. And I'll just mention that I was very impressed by the Interfaith Coalition. So I thank you all for doing that, Imam, for having everybody there. And you mentioned earlier that folks were living together peacefully in the region, and we're living together peacefully here and associating with each other. So again, you all come out 3:30 on Sunday. If you have friends that don't really know what's going on and don't really know any of the Palestinian community in the area, I was excited to find you all, Imam, to see Brentwood for Palestine. I was like, oh my God, I don't have to go to Oakland to be a part of the action. I could start organizing with you folks right here in town. And I was also excited to see all the Palestinian folks that came out, the flag, the kafiyas, and in my own community. So I'm ready to do some work here. And again, we need to get that ceasefire. And whatever you all think it means for the a small city like Antioch to make a ceasefire resolution, it's important. And don't forget tomorrow, the unhoused. Is it tomorrow or Saturday?
Tomorrow.
So it's Friday.
Yeah.
I told my friend Saturday, dang it. So there's a unhoused resource fair at the Nick Rodriguez Community Center. And does someone remember the times? Is it on that comment?
I think it's 12:30. Let me confirm that.
And does any of us know what will be there?
It's
resources, blankets, tents, food, toiletries.
Will they be doing haircuts and showers?
I believe that they're doing haircuts and showers.
Okay. It says Friday, February 2nd, 2024, 12:30 to 4:30, Nick Rodriguez Community Center, 213 F Street in Antioch, California. They do say for more information, they give a phone number as well as a email, but you could try the number 925-204-4167. It says it's a free event. All are welcome. The event will provide food, hygiene packs, shelter information, legal resources, haircuts, and more.
All right. So everyone's invited out to that. Feel free to come down. I'll try to head down there. And I might have to look this up, but I know that Grace Arms of Antioch on Saturday is having an end of life planning. It's a free event called Are You Ready for End of Life? And let's see, I got it right here somewhere. Let me pull it up. So since we're doing events here, give me 1 second. I know it was recent. Sorry, I'm scrolling through emails.
I have another action after you.
Go for it. Do yours now, and I'll bring when I find mine.
All right. Miss Catherine Wade, known as Queenie Love, she's been experiencing systems of oppression since the day she was born. She is the direct descendant of slavery. So her son, to the very end, her son's life was taken. She's still traumatized. She celebrates her birthday every year, February 8th. This will be his 3rd year, I believe, since he's passed. He endured years of abuse and police brutality. And to this day, they park outside her home, facing her home. I believe it's a way to continue to traumatize her. So if we can support her, intimidation. So from Antioch to Martinez to Concord, if anyone has time, February 8th, I believe it will be an afternoon, morning action at the DA's office in Martinez, and that's for Catherine Wade's son and Miss Sandra, her son. They share the same birthday, February 8th, and all they want is justice for their sons.
That's Malad Baldwin and Terry Amons. He was killed at the Nation's Hamburgers by the Pittsburgh police in the parking lot there. And another coincidental fact, not only are their birthdays on the same day, both their sons died of police violence, and they're buried next to each other by coincidence at the cemetery out there on 18th Street, right next to each other. So it's a little coincidental there. And then I found my event. So Saturday, Grace Arms of Antioch, in conjunction with Black History Month, presents Are You Ready? And they are asking you to join them and their community partners as they provide information on Are You Ready for End of Life, a free event. This is February 3rd, 2024, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Grace Bible Fellowship of Antioch. That's 3415 Oakley Road in Antioch. And for more information, you could visit their webpage, gracearmsofantioch.org. And at the event, you can learn about hospice care, wills, power of attorney, healthcare directives, pre-need services, and more. And there'll be blood pressure checks and a free lunch. Who's got the frogs? Or is that just
They're
static?
all over Brentwood right now.
I love it. It reminds me of the South.
Yeah, they're all over Brentwood right now. I was in a parking lot earlier today, and there were just frogs everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing I didn't mention at the beginning, I didn't know how the show was going to start. I was a little late getting on the early jump. But I don't know if anyone opened us with a prayer. Carlos, I know you're a man of God and out there on the streets doing stuff. We got Imam with us.
Yes.
With Imam, I don't know if we're going to close out with a prayer or if
Let's close out with a prayer.
are we ready to break it up tonight? You think we're good?
Yeah.
And how about we
Justice for
how about we
Palestine.
pass how about we pass it to the Imam, as Miss Patty said, for Palestine tonight and for Black History Month. And I will mention this one last thing. As growing up and going to church here in town and different churches, even as a young adult, and being asked to pray and bow your head and you pray. I want to thank Imam and the group for offering me to pray with them. I didn't know what to do. I was like, well, I never prayed this way. And I started thinking to myself, well, I've clasped my hands and bowed my head in many churches on a pew.
Yeah.
Why can I not join these fellows and have a prayer in their traditional way? So I appreciate that. And I thank you for that, Imam. And I enjoyed that very much. So why don't you take us out with a prayer tonight as you see fit? But of course, I'm thinking for Palestine, as Miss Patty said, for this ceasefire resolution, even though it might be small in the microcosm, it's big here for us. And I know that the people of Palestine appreciate us doing what we can out here. What little bit we get and we can do for us, the bigger picture, I know they appreciate. So I'll thank Carlos and the crew and everybody, and I'll pass it over to Imam Abu Bakar from the local Muslim community in Brentwood, also serving Antioch and Oakley, to take us out with a prayer tonight.
We can't hear you, Mom.
Thank you very much, Frank, and thank you very much, everyone. I again appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for all that you guys are doing to serve the people in our area. We're on the same side. You guys are all welcome always, to come to our center. We have resources here as well. We do have food giveaways and so on. Some resources, perhaps we'll talk in the future, so you guys can know more about them in case you know anyone who can benefit from them. And to reiterate my invitation, with your permission, not only do we have this event, for Black History Month, this Saturday, 7:30 p.m. here at the Brentwood Muslim Community Center. Feel free to just stop by. You'll come in. Everybody will just, it's normal. Anybody can walk in, and would be happy to have any of you guys there. Anybody who would like to come. Yes, and with that, to conclude with the prayer, I'm going to say it in English, and then I'm going to say a part in Arabic, but I'd have already translated in English. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, the all-merciful, the especially merciful. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise is due to God, the creator, the sustainer, the provider, the master, the nourisher, and the protector of all of the creation, everything that exists, the maintainer, the one who's in charge, the one who sees all that which is going on and allows for us to do with our free will what we do, to be thankful to his gifts or to destroy and be ungrateful if that is what we choose. But God, you are the one who is the victor and the one who gives victory to those who are oppressed. And your justice is always swift and around the corner, and you always make the people of righteousness prevail when they stand up. And you have guaranteed us that you do not change the situations of a people until they change that which is within themselves. Oh Allah, allow us to change that which is within ourselves. Allow us to overcome our weaknesses, overcome our fear, overcome our self-interest and our selfishness and our insecurities, and to have the strength and determination to do everything that is in our power to stand up for everyone who's oppressed and downtrodden, and to speak up and to boycott and to act in every way that is pleasing to you, to stand up for our brothers and sisters in Palestine and everybody around the world who is going through difficulty, who is going through struggle. And we ask you to give them aid and to give them peace and to give them comfort and assistance and victory, and to make us a means of all of that. Allow us to be inspired by those who are going through struggle patiently and enduring and resisting, and showing us the true meanings of bravery, the true meanings of generosity, the true meanings of selflessness, the true meanings of perseverance and persistence and standing up for the truth and standing up for justice. Allow us to be inspired by them so that we can become representatives of truth and justice. Allow that truth and justice and goodness to prevail within our own lives, within our own families, within our own communities, and for that to be a beacon to the world so that truth and justice may be established by you in the world. We ask you to be a means of doing that which is good, and to show us the light, and to give us guidance and comfort in our hearts, so that no enemy can bring us down, so that no sequestering and no oppression can push us back, that we keep resisting and we keep pushing forward for the sake of the good, so that we see it become established in the world by your power and your grace and your mercy. Ameen.
Amen. All right. So with that, we got the music playing, or it was playing. Where is it at? There we go.
That was beautiful.
Yes, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Imam. Thank you, Mr. Francisco. Frank, for the awesome questions, and the answers that Mr. Francisco and Imam gave us. It richly enlightened us to what's going on, and not beating around the bush. We definitely got to keep what's going on over there in our prayers. And Miss Patty, Mary, thank you guys again for just being here. If you two want to say something before we go on ahead.
Do you want to say it, Patty?
Power to the people.
Power to the people.
Power to the people. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back again next Thursday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I know I'm going to put that flyer on the website. Let me put that up real quick here. And it's the CarlosTacoShow.com. I'm going to do it in the morning. I might do it tonight, but yeah, give me a few, 12 hours. It'll be up for sure. Thank you all
I'll
again.
remind him.
Thank you.
You guys Sunday.
She's good.
Or maybe Sunday.
God bless you all. Peace.
Thank you all, and free Palestine.
Yes.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.